When it comes to looking at the majority table, Colombia is the champion.
Yes, sir.
But with Vargas, we're already getting used to it. And I'm saying this in a very, let's say, emotional way. We're already getting used to Vargas always winning, and each time he gets more time ahead. This time he took almost 3 minutes from Rodrigo Contreras, who's the second best rider in Colombia. He's really strong. I was talking to him and he told me he's going to the World Championship and that he's going to prepare very well. Anyway, last year he should have finished among the top 7, but his chain came off over there on a bumpy cobblestone section. His chain came off, and that's why...
It's Rwanda. It's Rwanda.
Yes, in the Kimijubura, that's what it was called, something like that.
I'm going to talk about this topic very carefully. I love what has happened. The day we started the broadcast before the first race took place, I made a comment that this championship was going to be much more difficult for Colombia because of the bull phenomenon. Why has the bull phenomenon not only affected beneficially, not only Mexico, but all of Latin America, all the racers on the continent? It has motivated them. Hey, can I also be like the bull? Why not them? Them. And so everyone started working differently. The race started right away, and Brazil won. Brazil won the first gold medal, and on the last day, the last gold medal was won by Costa Rica. So Edgar knows it, the teacher knows it, Iñaki knows it, Xavi knows it, Nelson knows it, everyone knows it. The coach is from Colombia, and everyone knows the key event in that championship was the one we lost. So the challenge was tough for Colombia, but I love it because Latin American cycling needs that. And now we had Mr. Lepartian here in Colombia, and he realized that this cycling is ours. And he was here and talked to the people. And we have a track technical director in Copaccia. He's Colombian, and the road director is another Colombian. And they're working to organize the America's Cups. The Track America's Cup is already happening. The Women's Road Cycling America's Cup is happening, and they're going to organize the men's one to hold races that have a what's it called? A ranking. That they have that there is a real ranking in America, and that American cycling is where it should be. And now you see that there's Silva from Uruguay, that there's another Uruguayan, that there's a Cuatro Montes, that there are Colombians, that there are 3 Panamanians in the World Tour, that's important for Latin America. So I don't mind that Colombia lost. I love it. So people realize that all countries are capable of doing good cycling.
Chemo, fact.
For me, no, but look, chemo, no, but wait. If not, I'll lose my train of thought. Sorry, Xavi. Here's a fact. Second place in most goals by the Mexican Macias. The fact that in the under-23 category, one of the Prieto brothers won. The fact that in under-23, they also got another medal, plus what Rubalcaba did, etc. Well, that has allowed Mexico to be in the International Cycling Union ranking today, in the top 10 in the world. The 10th country right now in the International Cycling Union ranking is Mexico. But it's striking that thanks to the work of some of the Petrolaic riders who have also added points. Petrolaic is currently the top organization in America in the context of the International Cycling Union, and it is number 29 for the year 2026. That is to say, everything that happened that week in Monteria...
And it's a continental team, right?
It's a continental team. It's the second continental team in the International Cycling Union ranking, behind Brunei from Thailand. That is to say... Yes, Professor. Everything that happened that week has somehow made Mexican cycling flourish because of the work that has been done beforehand and because things are going well for them.
Yes, because there's a factor that breaks that, and that's in the under-23 category. For example, in the case of Sebastian Ruiz, I had the opportunity to work with him all last year in Europe. So when we checked the second and third, they hadn't been in Europe long, just a month or so before returning, right? Being there the entire season really matters. Now, the fact is, it seems to me that in the elite category, without a doubt, the greatest expectation is not obviously to say that the under-23 is not an important category, but that all eyes were on the last day, not Sunday, yes, to see how Gaviria performed, how Alvaro Hawks performed, and so on. I think there was disorder within the Colombian team because that's how it has to be said, with all due respect, disorder. Not only from the point of view of formation, but also from the point of view of the final phase of the sprint. They made a mistake in that approach. Then Gaviria went off without Hawks on his wheel and made a sprint that was way too long. Hawks was coming on the opposite side where Gaviria was, and the other rider who was positioning was on the opposite side from where he needed to launch. I mean, the moves weren't really structured, not very automatic. When Mexico truly got organized and everything, he was very strict about that. But I think we had the best team at that moment because Molano was missing. But Molano was in no course. He was in no course in other races, in Deny and so on, and he couldn't attend. So a strong team was called up, a powerful team to go for the sprint, who had all the experience in the world. Yes, if you add up everyone there, they have more experience than anyone, and obviously that's why you have high expectations. But honestly, the Colombian team was very disorganized.
Yes.
Totally agree, coach. Look, Kimo, Edgar, and the others who were there, and they probably have a lot more elements to talk to the sources and investigate what happened. But what the coach says, it's good that Professor Luis Fernando Saldarriaga says it, and maybe not those of us who saw it through the screen. It was a crushing defeat for Colombia, with a tournament that was very poorly planned given the same names that were there. Why was it planned with that team? I heard Alvaro, the champion and defender, who has every right to be Colombia's #1 sprinter, hoping that Fernando Gaviria, with his ego and everything else, and his 52 international victories that back him up in the elite, would be his lead-out man. Me, knowing Gaviria, I never thought Gaviria would end up being on the outside. I repeat that he was in the position of his lead-out man.
He didn't go through there. He didn't go through there. Not through there.
But look, Edgar, it's just that yeah, you could see the Mexico team working with Frere, with Rubalcaba and the others, but you never saw the Colombia team together. Because they're always talking about a team working for Alvaro Hodeg with the names they had, so what did they say?
Let's see, Xavi. Let's see.
In the end, they said, we'll win this with names. And I think Colombia could have set up 2 different strategies to at least fight for the podium.
No, Xavi, the way Colombia's team was put together, and I had mentioned this to Professor Saldarriaga before the race, I didn't think it was right. You can't...
No, not at all.
With 4 sprinters, Nicolas Gomez, Wilmar Paredes, Fernando Gaviria Paredes, and the cyclist Alvaro Hodeg. The only ones free to work were the cyclist Walter Vargas, a time trialist who helped as much as he could. And the other was Brian Sanchez. So it seemed to me that from there, the formation wasn't right. The other thing, coach, is the technical aspect of the cyclist Alvaro Hodeg in the final stretch. It was really sad the way he sprinted. With his arms wide open, coach, not tucked into the machine.
No, over the handlebars.
Over the second position.
Look, I believe the race.
One moment, let me finish, Kimo. You're very happy because Colombia lost, but you can't lose.
I'm not happy. I'm happy because...
You said you were happy that Colombia lost? Well, then I see you.
That Costa Rica won.
But I'm going to tell you, Costa Rica, the cyclist from Costa Rica belongs to a club. The cyclist from Argentina belongs to a club. The 4th one who beat Gaviria and beat Alvaro Hodeg is from the Dominican Republic. A cycling scene that really it doesn't represent much in America. You lose when you have cyclists who have been world tour. When they are cyclists who are really world, you know exactly that they have more expertise than the others, right? Losing like that is really sad.
Edgar, to me it seems that this just confirms exactly what you see from the outside. Colombia brought their big names, assumed they'd win just by showing up, and didn't put in real effort. And look, I saw Gaviria glancing sideways at Alvaro Hodeg on the other side. And Alvaro Hawks didn't sprint. Alvaro Hawks held back. He gave up. He gave up much earlier. And Alvaro Hawks was looking to his left to see what gesture Gaviria was making, as if he was waiting, like, hey, weren't you going to be my lead-out man? Not completely.
Coach, but what organization from the Costa Ricans in the sprint?
Bonilla contributed a lot. No.
I just want to say something, guys. Maybe I watched a different race. But the way the teams, even Belize, which has never had cycling, the way the teams that came melted the Colombian team. They made 22 attacks in the race in the middle of 35-degree heat.
The heat was for everyone.
That's why. But let me explain. What happened is that we were racing in Colombia. We were racing in the city where Alvaro Hodge was born, which had 20 signs put up by the government and the City Hall of Monteria to promote the event with a photo of Alvaro Hodge. Photo de Alvaro Hodge. If this race had been in Uruguay or Paraguay, Alvaro Hodge wouldn't even have won. Gaviria would have won. But we were here in Colombia, and all the others didn't have all the breakaways that happened. The Colombians had to go after them.
Of course, Chemo, the thing is, there were only a few left.
That's why
Chemo, there were only a few left.
I didn't have it. They didn't have it. But look, they didn't have the men needed to do that job.
If they didn't have...
Yes, but there was Paredes, there was Walter, Edgar, Walter Vargas was there. Paredes, it could have been.
We didn't have...
Yes, they had them.
How are you going to make the... how are you going to make the cyclists who are sprinters do another job they don't know?
That's why, but they did have them, Edgar, and they had them so much that the race ended in a mass sprint. No breakaway succeeded.
Chemo, they had 7 riders, no more.
No, 6, coach 6.
Well, no. What I mean is, the fact is, yes, we had to put another color to cancel it out so that the others wouldn't get so worn out by the last phase and could throw.
That was great. At 25 kilometers. Now, teacher, Professor Saldarriaga, I don't know how you interpret it or what your take is, Professor Luis. At 25 kilometers, kilometer 25 and kilometer 20, attacks with all due respect from regional teams against strong teams like the one from Mexico, the men from Colombia, even the sprinters themselves like Hodge coming out trying to break away, and Gaviria too. So scared? Scared of who? Who were they scared of? Which one of those men who attacked could really pose enough of a threat that Hodge and Gaviria themselves had to go out and close down those breakaways at 20 or 25 kilometers?
I think that I honestly saw things very disorganized. Not in terms of roles, because Hodge himself, I was right there on Hodge's side. He said they had planned a race, but it didn't go as expected.
It didn't work out for him.
The movements, 1, 2. Prieto from Mexico said we didn't run with reference to Colombia. We ran our own race.
No, I knew it. Look, no, I knew it, coach. I knew it. No, and in the senior category, I knew how Mexico was going to work because here, in the hallway next door, I talked to Bernardo de la Garza before the trip. He said we're aiming for gold. I told him he'd need to beat Alvaro Hodge and watch out for Gaviria. But they were going, that's why I tell you that for me, here, for example, Sunday was a defeat for Mexico, because losing to Hodge or Gaviria is expected. But losing to Huertas from Costa Rica, for them that was a defeat because they came in confident. They were confident.
You say, they didn't lose to Gaviria and Hodge, they lost to others. But it was precisely, what happens is that cycling has that characteristic. It's not one against another, it's 18 against 18.